Well, I have to admit that I'm a little disappointed that Laurel Hubbard didn't have a better showing in the Olympics. I am, and I want to explain why that is. So, Laurel Hubbard is a trans woman, the first openly trans woman to compete at the Olympic Games. She was competing in Olympic weightlifting, and I really thought that this was going to be a moment in which this conversation about should trans women be competing against women who were born as women and went through puberty as women. Is it fair for trans women to be competing in the same categories, particularly when we were talking about women at elite levels in all of sports? And I really thought that if Laurel had done better in her category in the Olympics, then this would be a moment where we could actually have a conversation about this, because I do think it is a very stark image to see Laurel Hubbard, who is a trans woman, standing atop a podium with two cis women on either side of her, getting the gold medal, where two cis women who probably could never, ever, ever, ever physically compete against her in the first place when the playing field is level. I think it's a stark image, and I think it's a stark image for it to happen at the Olympic Games, but sadly, it looks as though Laurel may not have had her best day in the Olympics today. Laurel Hubbard, the first openly transgender athlete to compete at an Olympic Games, has bowed out of the competition after failing to complete her lifts in the women's weightlifting event. The New Zealander took the stage for the women's super heavyweight category, but was unable to land any of her three snatch attempts. The weightlifter overbalanced on her first opening weight of 120 kilograms, taking the bar behind her shoulders and losing control during the lift. Returning to the floor for two attempts at 125, Hubbard was unable to manage the first lift and ultimately dropped the bar behind her during the second attempt in a performance that ultimately eliminated her from continuing the competition. Although she appeared to successfully make one of the 125 kilogram lifts and even celebrated with clenched fists, two of the three judges ruled it invalid for bending of the elbow, NBC News reported. After Hubbard dropped the bar behind her during her third and final attempt and received applause from the small crowd, she put her hands to her heart in acknowledgement of the crowd. At 43 years old, Hubbard was the oldest weightlifter competing in the sport at the Tokyo Games. It was her first Olympics. She gave a short statement afterwards. "Thank you very much for your interest in my non-performance this evening. I know that from a sporting perspective, I haven't really hit the standards, but I've put upon myself and perhaps the standards my country had expected of me." Laurel, I gotta tell you, listen, I'm not going to take anything away from anyone who trains to go to the Olympics. I'm just not going to do it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to play these games. However, God damn, do I wish she had done better. Because here's what's going to happen now. Here's what's going to happen from this conversation is the trans activists are going to come out and say, look, this is proof that there is no difference between a man and a woman. This is proof. The first openly trans women went to the Olympics and she failed in her competition. And look, a woman still won the gold medal even though a trans woman was competing in a women's category. So therefore, really no harm, no foul. Now, I am not suggesting by any stretch of the imagination that she purposefully lost. I'm not suggesting that. I'm sure she went and she tried her best, and it is what it is, and some days we have good days and some days we have bad days, whatever. But I am saying that the trans activists are going to use this for everything they could, because this is what the woke do. The woke take advantage of every single opportunity they have in order to advance their agenda. That's it. They take advantage of every single opportunity in order to advance their agenda. Are they going to take advantage of the fact that she choked? Yes. Of course they are. Of course they are. And they're going to make a good case for it. They're going to say, look, a trans woman went to the Olympics for weightlifting. I mean, if there's any category that a trans woman should probably be able to outcompete cisgendered women, it'd be weightlifting, right? Guess what? She went to the Olympics and she totally failed. She didn't even make the podium. It was so bad. That's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. And I do think that this is a sensitive discussion to be had because I've come out and said, I don't know what the good solution here is. I have no problem with people being trans. I frankly think that when you go after people for being trans or you purposefully misgender them or you purposefully use the wrong name, I don't think you bolster your case and I don't think you look like a good person. I think adults should be able to live however the flip they want to live and that we should extend to everyone, every single person, basic respect and courtesy. You won't ever catch me misgendering people. You won't ever catch me purposefully using the names that they don't want you to use. I won't do it because I think that every human being who is an adult, it's different when they're kids, but every human being that is an adult should have the ability to live their life however they want. If I want my ability to live my life however the flip I want, then I have to respect other people's wishes in that. But man, I do wish that we were in a place to have a better conversation about this because this was a big opportunity. I really thought that if she was atop the podium and she had two women on either side of her, this would make an inflection point for this discussion. And I don't know what's going to happen now. We're going to have to wait another couple years for the next Olympics to come and have that inflection point. Is something else going to bring to bear that inflection point? Because I don't want to see women's sports go away. I want to see women, young girls in particular, feel like they have a place in sports, feel like they can be competitive, feel like there's a purpose for working hard. If you are telling young girls that there's like, if you are, my heart breaks particularly for trans teenagers, for teenagers that are really trans. It really does, because I feel like it's kind of like caught between a rock and a hard place. Like, what do you want them to do? They're trying to live their lives. I do believe it's a real thing. I don't believe in medical transition before someone's 18, but I do believe in social transition. I don't know what to do with them. I really don't. But it doesn't help this discussion at all when you say that anyone who has questions about trans women competing in women's sports are evil and bigoted, because I think it's too simplistic of a solution. I don't know what the right solution is. I don't think it's reasonable to say, let's just have a trans athletic league, because there aren't enough trans people to do that. Like, that's not a reasonable solution. I don't know if it's a reasonable solution to say, well, why don't just all trans people compete in the boys categories? I don't know if that's a reasonable solution. I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that we are going to reach an inflection point at some point of having to have this discussion. And, you know, the rate that we're going, it just seems as though people are just more interested in using every opportunity to support whatever their tribe wants them to do. I don't know. I don't know what the answer to this is. But I do wish she had done better. Because if she had done better, we would have a better chance of having a bigger picture discussion. But here we are. I don't know. Maybe she feel like I've heard that her routine, her training is not exactly like the most competitive thing in the world. So I'm sure that probably had something to do with her lack of performance. I don't know. Maybe she thought that she just didn't really need to try. I don't know. I find that hard to believe for anyone going to the Olympic Games, but maybe I'm wrong. It doesn't really matter, though. The point is, at the end of the day, the trans activists are going to use this opportunity to say, oh, look, there's just no difference. And we've got to come up with a way to counter this argument, and I don't know what it is. What we need is a crystal clear image that articulates that it is probably not fair for cisgendered women to be competing against transgendered women who have gone through male puberty. We need a stark image to present that. And we don't have that yet. We just don't have it. So I guess we're going to have to sit back and wait, like all things. All right, guys, I would love to know what you think the solution here is. If you have thoughts around this, and I hope that they're reasonable thoughts, not hateful thoughts, not thoughts where we are ridiculing people because we disagree with how they are choosing to live their life. But if you have a reasonable thought, I'd love to hear it in the comments. I'd also like for you to subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this video. I do content almost every single day of the week. If you don't see content from me, just check back, because there's probably going to be some more today, some more tomorrow. I do content almost every single day of the week around news, politics, culture, really focusing in on the woke, critical race theory, stuff like that. That's kind of my beat. If you enjoy it, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. Definitely turn on notifications, because you'll be much more likely to actually see my content. And if you want to support the work I'm doing, the very best way you can do it is to join my Locals community, kb.locals.com. Locals is the best place on the internet. It's the only place where we can actually have reasonable discussions. It is completely free to join. If you go to kb.locals.com and just want to join to just check it out, you can do that completely for free. You can watch ad-free videos, all that cool stuff. But if you want to support the work I'm doing, you can join as a supporter, get a whole bunch of extra perks on top of it, including our 2 Zoom calls a week. We just did a debate club over the weekend. We're doing a Stitch and Bitch, Craft and Bitch, whatever you want to call it, next weekend. We're reading The Fountainhead right now for book club. We meet and chat twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so we do lots of stuff. $5 a month, or if you want to do an annual contribution, it's $50 for the year. Gets you access to everything in my Locals and an awesome supportive community. All right, guys, that's all I have for right now. I'll see you soon.